Welcome, everybody. It is week 3 of the Women of Fantasy Football podcast. I'm Josh Hudson, one of the hosts of No Punt Intended. So if you're tuning in for that, sorry, we'll be on tomorrow night with our ranking show. This week, it's all about the women in fantasy football and the sports betting space and content consumers that we know, we love. Tonight, Faith Enes is solo tonight. Kelly, we wish you well. We love you. We're thinking about you. But tonight, we've got Faith and a couple of amazing guests. You've actually seen our first guest on No Punt Intended. She was back with us during our Super Bowl prop bet show. She is a betting analyst with Yahoo Sports and covers UFC. Minty Bets is our first guest, kicking off at 7 o'clock. And at 7:45 or so, we have content consumer Jen Smith, who I have the pleasure of sharing a Scott Fishbowl division with. So extremely excited for both of these interviews tonight. So let's kick it off.
Good evening, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy week 3 of the WOFF Podcast Season 4. Like Josh said earlier, I am riding solo tonight because Kelly is chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool and all. I hate when Josh is backstage because then when he laughs, I laugh, and I'm doing so well. Jerk face. Kelly, we wish you well wishes and a speedy recovery. I am solo as a host, but I am not solo for the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, as you heard Josh introduce, Minty Bets is here with us. Hi, Minty. How are you?
I'm doing well, Faith. How are you?
I am well. I'm glad to finally get you on a WOFF show. I know you've been with the boys on No Pun Intended before. Glad to finally get you on our side, the better side.
The better side, the bright side. Yes, of course. Yes. It's an honor to be here. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
That's super exciting. So before we get into all of the questions, people are probably wondering, Josh mentioned you do betting. Mm-hmm. Is Bets really your last name?
Bets is not my last name. It is a stage name.
I like it.
So I've been called Minty my whole life, but it's not my real name. And I obviously don't give it out for a reason.
Oh, for sure.
You know, because creepy. I mean, we work in a male-dominated industry, and it is very easy because my real name is actually so unique. You just type my name and my address will pop up, and I don't like that.
You know, I don't blame
Why does that happen?
Because the internet is a creepy place, and there are creepy people on the internet.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, there's also great people on the internet because I've met them in person and I love them, but obviously I'm not friends with the creepy ones because that would be weird.
We don't like the creepy ones.
No. Creeper, no creeping.
Yeah.
So you obviously deal a lot with sports and sports betting. Where did your love of sports come from?
Honestly, growing up, I didn't care for sports at all. I didn't love it. I didn't play it. I didn't watch it. I associated sports with my dad, who loved betting on sports. Like, I was born and raised in Vegas. He worked in casinos, so that was just the lifestyle here. So whether it was like NFL, MLB, NBA, he would sweat his bets like every night after work. But I guess my love and admiration for sports now has originated from wanting to make extra cash on the side from betting it. So now I love it because I make money from it now. But I also fell in love with the game of football and baseball and hockey. And it just makes watching sports much more fun when you have a little action on it.
Okay, that depends because everybody's like, do you sports bet? I'm like, first of all, I don't understand it.
It can
Overs
be confusing.
and unders and money lines and like, okay, I've kind of gotten, like, I know that parlay generally means more than one thing happening at a time. And one relies on the other. And then the overs and unders, okay. But, like, you throw betting terms at me and I'm like, no, I'm good.
You know, I taught everything myself about betting. I never asked my dad. I never asked any friends. And I just learned myself and made a ton of mistakes myself. And it can be confusing. And you know what? Bettors will purposely use these terms towards people who don't know betting just to kind of make them feel dumb sometimes. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. But once you learn, you're just like, you feel like a mathematician. You're like, oh, I know what that means. So
See,
maybe
that's
like
my
on the
problem.
side,
I
I'll
hate
have
math. I prefer words to numbers. I don't like math.
I also don't either. But, it is what it is.
It is
You need it.
what it is. So you talked about when you were growing up, your dad was into sports betting. Is that kind of what interested you into like doing the sports betting as well? Because I know you said that you evolved into being a sports fan. So
yeah. So yeah, when I turned 21, I knew that I wanted to dabble in sports betting. It was the only form of gambling that kind of appealed to me compared to like poker and slots and stuff. I thought it was cool, and I thought it was like an easier way to make money. Like it wasn't really much about luck, but there's actually research that goes into it. So yeah, that's why I gravitated more towards sports betting.
That's interesting. So before you turned 21, before you could legally bet, was there anything high school Minty said, you know what, maybe I want to do this as a career?
Yes. So as anybody in their late teens, early 20s.
I'm very excited to see.
I'm trying to I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I had like some college education and no real passion. And back in 2019, when I started my current sports betting Twitter account, I was working 2 jobs, and one of them was cocktailing at a pool in Vegas, which if you know it, you make a lot of money, some really good money if you cocktail at a pool in Vegas. And I also owned and operated my own floral design business. So yeah, I went to school for floral design. I got a job right after school and I became a florist. I had a ton of experience. I started my own thing specializing in wedding flowers. And if I hadn't gotten into sports betting, I think that would have been my career path, because I honestly stopped because I was so burnt out working 2 jobs, but I think I would do it again. I think that's where I wanted to, I got to be part of someone's wedding and make it pretty. So, and flowers make everyone happy. So that was what I would have done if I did not get into sports betting.
That's super cool and something that you don't hear about all that often.
Yeah.
I've always thought that it would be something fun, but then I've also thought about like somebody's wedding, and it's just like, that's a lot.
That is the worst part. Is like the best and worst part are the brides, because bridezillas, the mother of the bride, they're very, very particular, and it is definitely a I don't know the word to describe it. It's very interesting and it's very intense. As fun as weddings are, it's very intense behind the scenes.
So what is all right, this is a 2-parter. What is your favorite flower to work with? And what is your favorite flower just in general?
My favorite flower in general is an iris, which is typically like a bright purple with a little yellow in the middle. I don't know why I like it so much. I think it just doesn't look like a typical flower, like a daisy or a rose. And my favorite flower to work with would actually be carnations. They're so hardy. They come in hundreds of colors, and people think they are cheap, and they are cheap, but people don't like them because of the stigma of that they're cheap flowers, but they are so gorgeous and they look good in everything. So just letting you know, I had a carnation that was like out of water for days and it was still just fine. So yeah.
When you were a florist, what was I going to say?
I get brain farts all the time too. Me like live on TV. I'm just like, so anyway, yeah, DK Metcalf, blank. Forgot what I was going to say.
His first name is 2 initials.
Yes.
DK, which coincidentally is also like Donkey Kong.
Oh, never thought of that.
Yeah, it had something to do with flowers.
Well.
Okay. This wasn't what I was going to ask. What was your least favorite flower to work with?
Definitely hydrangeas, only because
they're divas from what I heard.
They're divas only because in Vegas the air is so dry, and hydrangeas, they drink water from the stem as well as the petal itself, so it needs moisture in the air. So they died really fast, and if it was any bit of warm here, it just wilted. And it sucked. But here's a tip. If you ever find your hydrangeas wilted, you can dunk it in a box. I was
just going to ask that, because like I've seen an Instagram reel where they were just like, they'll just drown their hydrangeas. And I'm like, is that a thing?
It is a thing. It
That's
drinks
crazy.
water, and just do it for 30 minutes and then pull it back out. And then when it dries, it'll just be fluffy again.
So like the first part of hydrangea is like HYDRA. I wonder if that has anything
Hydro.
to do with the fact that they're like water.
Exactly. Yeah.
Doublets.
It's Latin, I'm assuming, for water. So
Look
yeah,
at
it's
us.
a water flower.
Look at us. Like we were talking flowers, we were talking sports betting, science.
We can do both.
We can do both because we're women and we can multitask.
Yeah.
So at 21, when you first started getting into sports betting, from then to like you starting your sports betting career, what were some of like the biggest obstacles that you had to deal with?
Surprisingly, entering the sports betting industry, I got way more support than I did hate. And when I was gaining followers and I just had like an outpour of so many people messaging me nice things like, oh, awesome, great job, I'm tailing your picks. Hey, you're getting so much traction. Want to help me out? Like stuff like that. So that was a breath of fresh air. But of course, there are people who are not as supportive. And I've gotten a lot of people questioning my credibility because I was never an athlete, or because, you know, my name and account grew pretty much overnight. And there are people in this industry who have been working for years trying to get noticed. And those people don't like that. Those people don't like me for that. So yeah, even to this day, like, people will always ask, do you make your own picks or does someone tell you what to say? And I'm like, why do you think that? And you know, people tend to pick on women because they believe we're vulnerable and passive and emotional. So I see a lot of double standards from, you know, back then to even now. So it sucks.
I was having a conversation at the expo a couple weeks ago with Mike, also known as Daddy Swim on Twitter, about just that same topic, about how he came into the space and grew relatively quickly because he looks at fantasy football from a financial point of view for like contracts and all that stuff, and whether or not a player is likely to stay depending on how much they still have on their contract, how much they're owed if they tap out, whatever. And so the premise of that conversation with him was, just like you, who grew relatively overnight, it's because you guys were doing something that other people were doing. You were just doing it a different way. And so, and I said to him, and I think I said it last week, find what you are good at, find out what you're passionate at, and come at it from a different angle. Because 16 different people are writing the same article about where Dalvin Cook's going to go, but only one person is doing it from a contract standpoint. So people don't need to read 15 different versions of the exact same information when they can read one version of this and then this other interesting version.
That is faith. Yes. Keep going. Preach it.
Find what you're good at, find out what you like, and just find your niche. Find out some way that somebody is not doing it and provide a service that nobody else is providing.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I tell everyone too, is like, you can start your own sports betting show or fantasy football podcast, but like 100 other people are going to do it. What makes you different? And, you know, sometimes it's not about how accurate your picks are, or how accurate, you know, the things, I shouldn't say the things you say, how accurate your picks are, but it's the way you deliver the information and how you're able to capture people's attention. Like, that really matters. You could lose 20 weeks in a row and still have a ton of followers because they like you and they come back for you. So that is like, I am giving you the hundreds emoji right now and the emoji, you know, so you hit the nail on the head.
Yes, queen. Well, and also people, it's just like fantasy football with experts and expert analysts. When you make picks and you tell people bet this because the moon is in microwave, like whatever, it's just a suggestion.
Yes.
Whether people, like, it's up to them to make that decision. If they follow you and it hits, congratulations. If they follow you and it doesn't hit, they ultimately made that decision. It gets really frustrating when people get mad at analysts because you told me to start this person and he got injured. I'm sorry, do I have a crystal ball?
Yeah.
If he hadn't gotten injured, he was on track to score this many points. Like, I lost just as much as you did because I did what I told you to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we can only control so much, and we do our research maybe a little differently than everybody. You know, everyone's different in how they research, but like, we can't be right all the time. And that's kind of the annoying thing about this industry, whether it's fantasy football or betting, is that you give out a pick, you tell people who to bench and who to start or who to take tonight as an underdog or the favorite. And if you get it wrong, people will come at you and be like, hey, it lost. Hey, that wasn't right.
Yeah.
You're the worst. And it's like, buddy, I'm not a psychic. I'm an analyst, or I'm a content creator, or I'm this and I'm this. But it's like, we're only human. So I just hate that people don't understand that.
Yeah, exactly. People, it's annoying. Speaking of people, but people who aren't annoying, but also people who look like a cat. It's really confusing when you meet him in person. Mr. Scampers has a question for you.
Okay.
And he has a statement. First of all, florists are awesome, which I agree. And then he wants to know your opinion on snapdragons.
Oh, I love snapdragons. They're what we call in the floral industry a line flower. So it adds height. And definitely draws your eye up, making the arrangement look bigger. But I absolutely love snapdragons in terms of line flowers. But there's also like larkspurs, which are very similar to snapdragons, liatris, gladiolus. So yeah, but snaps are definitely my favorite linear flower.
Okay, now I just really want to start a podcast called Flower Chat, where we just talk about flowers because this is fun. Josh, it's happening.
Thanks, Mr.
Prepare.
Scampers. That's great.
So we kind of touched on this subject. So it seems like the sports betting audience, like we talked about, is full of some hateful people. It's just some hatefulness. It's your fault I lost money, etc., etc. Sometimes the fantasy crowd can get that way, but usually it's not like directly involved with a loss or gain of money. So in the sports betting industry, was there ever a point in time where you were like, you know what, I'm done. These people are just buttheads. I don't want to do this anymore. This is destroying my peace. Like, I can't.
Every single day, Faith. But I truly believe that it's a combination of the fact that you have so much freedom and anonymity behind a computer screen mixed in with like a pool of testosterone. And people can be very cruel when there are no consequences, right? But like, I'm a really nice person and I choose what I choose to show online for a reason, but people don't know. And not only me, but like people don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Like, I'm a mom of a full-blown toddler. I focus on 5 different sports at once. So yeah, sometimes things slip my mind or I make a mistake. But I'm never just doing like the bare minimum, you know? And I do so much work, and I mean, I have so much going on at home that people are just like, okay, well, I think someone told you what to say, or someone like, there's no way you're making these picks, or you're just like throwing darts and just like randomly picking these teams or these fighters. And it sucks because like people are cruel, and people have like already made up their minds about me even before seeing any of my work, or maybe they catch me on a losing day and that's their first impression of me. So they choose to message or post like nasty things about me. And I have so many good insults in my brain, Faith, that I have drafted in my notes, and I'm just never would send them because I'm a professional adult. And
okay, but can you send them to me? Because I will send them.
Yes. And you know what? I stumbled upon this TikTok that was basically like, hey, drop your like funniest insults so I can like reference them later and use it on someone. And I've like bookmarked it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to come in handy one day. So
referring back to this.
Yeah. So I'll send you those too, Faith.
Thank you. I'll practice them on Josh.
There you go.
So you mentioned that you cover 5 different sports. What is your favorite sport to bet on, and what is your least favorite sport to bet on?
My favorite is definitely hands down the NFL. It is this first sport I ever bet on, the first sport I ever watched, and it's a very nostalgic because I told you like my dad watches football. So I absolutely, and frankly, I'm pretty good at betting the regular season. Once it's playoffs, I'm like, I lose all my money though. But my least favorite is the MLB. Not that I hate the MLB or anything, but it is such a grind. Like it's every day, multiple games a day. It's kind of like difficult to choose your spots in your matchups, and you get kind of burnt out on it even before the All-Star break, like before the halfway point. So MLB is really difficult, and frankly I'm really not that good at it. I'll have my good days, but I feel like I have more bad days than anything.
People have asked me several times if I wanted to play fantasy baseball, and I'm like, no.
I did that once and it was not fun.
I would never do fun because you have to set a lineup like daily.
Yeah.
And it just becomes a lot of work.
Yeah.
I did fantasy hockey once and I was like, never again. I will stick to it once a week.
Yeah. And at least I tried
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, the worst. Even like fantasy football, I'm very bad at fantasy, and I don't really. I can say that I don't really know a lot about fantasy football, right? But I enjoyed it more than fantasy baseball. But with fantasy football, I found myself like setting my lineup last minute, and I don't know if that's a regular thing or like, do you guys actually set your lineups like way early in advance, or like how do you go about fantasy football?
It depends. So if I remember to set my lineup. So here's the thing. So we have Monday Night Football. And then after that game, waivers usually run on Wednesday. Okay. So then you have to set your lineup. Unless you didn't put in a waiver claim, you can set your lineup Tuesday morning. But then on Tuesdays is usually when injury reports come out.
Oh my gosh.
So you've got injury reports on Tuesdays and then waivers on Wednesdays. And then you have a Thursday night lineup. So you have a very small window to make sure that you don't have any Thursday night players starting in your flex positions. Because if they do poorly, then you can't swap anybody else in and out of there.
And those primetime games are really brutal.
They are.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll set my lineup on like Tuesday. Other times I don't set it till Thursday morning. Sometimes I don't set it till like Thursday at 6 because I'm like, crap, I forgot to do that.
Yep. And I'm very forgetful. So it just wouldn't be a good thing for me.
And then you've got to run through it and you're like, okay, who's on a bye week? Who got hurt?
The bye week.
The bye week is killer.
The bye week always gets me. And not only that, but like once we hit mid-season, multiple teams are on a bye week and you'll have players from all those multiple teams. And I'm like, crap, I thought I made sure to not do that.
Yeah, I 9 times out of 10 do not factor in the bye weeks when I'm drafting. And then it always comes back to bite me in the butt. I'm like,
you just have to take an L for that week, you know?
You don't ever take L's. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
All right. So you've been sports betting since 21. You've made it a career for some time now. What is like a career highlight for you?
I'm going to say, and this is kind of stupid, and I have to go back to where I believe, so I think working in the sports media industry, everyone has that one desire, that one viral moment. They desire that one viral moment to kind of launch their career or boast about to their employers or their colleagues. And mine was back in 2021 when I got to interview Brett Favre right before the Super Bowl. And you know, I didn't grow up watching football, but I knew who Brett Favre was because my dad collected like all these like 90s, early 2000s quarterback bobbleheads, and it was super creepy. But one of the questions I had asked Brett Favre was, what do you think about Deshaun Watson demanding a trade back when he was a Texan? And he answered really well. And he basically said it was a different day and time when he played, and that back then you didn't ask for anything and you just got paid a lot of money to do your job. But he also said, and I quote you, but he's not wrong, like for requesting a trade and holding out and stuff. However, other networks, sports networks, clipped the video, and poor Brett Favre got dragged through the mud because all they got was, you get paid a ton of money to do your job. Done. They didn't get the part where he was like, well, but he's not wrong. And I totally respect it. So that entire week, it was just like blown up on like ESPN. Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. Smith was talking about it. I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt bad because I asked the question. But at the same time, it was actually kind of good for both of us, not only me and my job, but he was actually just launching his own podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, I helped him launch it, I feel, you know, I helped boost his listenership. I feel, you know, I'm going to take credit for it, even though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that you were that launching pad.
I was involved indirectly.
Nobody can tell me differently.
Yes,
even if they try. I'm like,
but yeah, the media
lying.
is so brutal. That was definitely one of my most memorable and favorite career moments, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of career, you bet 5 different sports. I don't know if you consider the UFC as one of those sports, because I don't know if people consider, like,
it is.
Some people are on the fence. It's like cheerleading. Is cheerleading a sport? I don't know that I'd call it a sport, but it does require a heck of a lot of athleticism.
It does. And it involves, I mean, you can get severely injured from it.
Correct.
So yes, I do consider cheerleading a sport.
Okay. So you recently started betting for the UFC and linked up with them for some of their broadcasts. Mm-hmm. What has that experience been like versus work you've done with Yahoo?
It is day and night. For Yahoo, I actually literally. Literally. For Yahoo, I never had the privilege to work at their offices in LA, but it's a really cool office that I've toured, tons of perks, and it's just like one of those modern day, like fun workplaces. Mm-hmm. But because I got hired full-time during the pandemic, I'm a remote worker. So I have actually my own studio in my house, which you can see like the lights and the camera set up back there. But it's honestly so chill. Like I've got a very flexible work schedule. I'm still the girl that's like in a presentable top and pajama bottoms and slippers. Yes, I love it.
Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, right? Like why would you get dressed up? But
there's no need to be uncomfortable from the waist down if nobody's going to see it.
Yes. But you know, the company Yahoo itself wholeheartedly like cares about its workers, and they're huge on mental health and inclusivity, fun, positive events, and like little details and stuff. And I absolutely love working for Yahoo, and I'm so proud I get to represent the company. As for UFC, not saying they're not any of that, but it is so fast paced. Like as the most popular MMA combat sports organization in the world, they put on events pretty much every weekend, and they travel all over the country, all over the world, as we were talking about earlier, to connect with fans and bring UFC to the fans' cities if they're unable to make it to Vegas. So this company absolutely like cherishes their fans, as crazy as they are. But working for UFC is so different because it's so fast paced. It's weekly, it's live, and it's a different animal. Again, not in a bad way at all. There's just so many people involved in one event behind the scenes and on camera. While I'm so used to Yahoo, like me miking myself up, me being like, okay, just 1, 2, like sound checking myself. But yeah, UFC, I get my makeup done. Even if I'm on camera for only 30 seconds, Faith, I get my makeup done, and it's the best thing ever. I get free food from the UFC chefs, and I get to chat with like guys like Dana White from time to time. And most excitedly, I think one of the coolest parts, other than like being on ESPN, is the fact that like I'm in like the back room with some like Hall of Famer fighters or some like former or current like world champions, and like we just like chat like we're normal coworkers, and I think it's like the coolest thing. But UFC is such a well-oiled machine, and it's really opened my eyes to the live in-person side of production and broadcast. But as different as it is working for those two, I love my jobs so much, and I'm so grateful for both UFC and Yahoo.
That's awesome and exciting. So I'm going to ask something that I'm sure people watching are probably wondering about. Joe Rogan.
I've actually never met Joe Rogan.
Interesting.
I've never spoken to him.
We'll just call him a diva then. If he's never met you, then clearly.
He hasn't had the pleasure of meeting me yet.
He has not, and that is his loss.
That's okay. It's okay. But yeah, I don't think he does a lot of the smaller fight night broadcasts in Las Vegas, which is the only fight nights that I work is in Las Vegas.
So you talked about Yahoo and UFC and all that stuff. How did you end up linking up or like coming together with Yahoo?
So, back in 2019, when I started my Twitter, I was gaining a lot of traction. Like I told you, it was kind of like almost like an overnight thing. And one of at the time, he was a producer for Yahoo Sports, and they had just started a sports betting show, and they were like launching it that year, or maybe they launched it the year prior. But they were just kind of like trying to perfect it, trying to see what works. For this betting show for the upcoming football season, the 2019 season. And he reached out to me and he was like, hey, we'd love to have you as a guest on the show. It's just going to be like a 30-second spot and that's it. And so I went on and I was so freaking nervous. And I lost the pick. And I think I lost like 3 or 4 weeks in a row before I finally won a pick. But thank God they brought me back over and over. And so they really liked me and the higher ups really liked me. So I just stayed. I never left.
Honestly, what's not to like?
Yeah, what's not to like? And this kind of is Twitter now is kind of like your resume. Like working in fantasy and just in sports media in general, it's really your resume. This is where you post articles and your videos and show your credibility. And I'm so grateful for Yahoo for giving me that chance, because at the time I was so new and I was posting sports picks, but like no one really gave me a chance until Yahoo. So that was really awesome of them.
Josh just wants everybody to know how excited he gets when he's at work and he sees you on TV.
Aw, thanks, Josh. Yeah, I get excited too. My mom, she doesn't understand anything about fighting and doesn't watch UFC. And her English is a little like, but she'll watch the whole broadcast just to catch me for 15 seconds. And I'm like, yay, thanks. I can just text you when I'm on, Mom. You don't have to watch the whole thing.
But she's proud of you. That's like my mom. My mom's like, when is your podcast done so I can watch it? I'm like, first of all, you will be bored within the first 30 seconds. I love you. I appreciate the offer, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have conversations that you're not going to, it's going to just make zero sense to you. So
yeah. But Faith,
I appreciate you. I love you, Mom. But
you have to have her watch it just for at least like the engagement and the viewership and the one extra listener, So I don't know. Yeah. I would just be like, Mom, just put it on in the background, go shower, whatever.
Go shower. Yeah, there you go.
You don't have to
turn the laptop on, mute it, watch TV, do whatever.
Yes. There you go.
So for everybody who is watching / listening, I know we kind of talked about this earlier, but let's say somebody doesn't really want to get into like fantasy football, but they have a passion for sports betting and they want to make a career out of this. What would be your advice to them?
I actually get this message to me a lot, and I get a lot of young, very young, fresh out of college or still in college that are like, I want to bet on sports professionally for a living. What do I do? And I say, don't do it. It's like, you're not going to have a life if you do that. And I don't bet on sports professionally for a living. I give out picks for a living professionally. So there's a difference. Like I bet for fun. But this is what I tell everyone. You have to make content with the 3 E's. That's entertaining, engaging, and educational. You have to find your target audience and find out how they like to mainly consume information, because if you're targeting new bettors, it's going to be totally different than those who have been betting for decades at a higher level with a higher bankroll. They also get fed information differently and different platforms. So, some people don't like to listen to podcasts. Some people don't like to watch videos. Some people don't like to read. But there are others who love all those things. And what you said earlier, you have to be different and stand out and find your niche. So for me, other than me being a woman who lives in Las Vegas, I always make sure to make my picks very quick and to the point, because that's how I like to consume my information, is just like fast on the go. And I also want to be relatable to everyone. So I used to make all these TikToks that just made fun of me as a bettor losing my picks. But a really great example out there, I don't know if you know who Trent Attia is of Book It Sports, but he's just the funniest, most relatable guy in sports betting. And he bets on these ridiculous plays and loses big time. But he's started this community of just regular dudes and a woman just like who love to have fun and watch sports together and sweat their bets together. And that was never a thing like 5 years ago. So, I mean, first of all, I wish I had that friend group that was like that loved to do that with me. But
Yeah.
like his brand is like community and comedy and relatability. And that's his niche. So like if people can find their niche and figure out what they can do to stand out and be different, that's how you can make it. And again, it's about your delivery, not so much the information or the accuracy.
Yeah, that's cool. You said something earlier that made me think of something that frustrates me. You said you like to make your picks quick and concise, and you just get to the point. Nothing frustrates me more when I Google a recipe for something, and like the first one I pull up is like grandma's best chicken and dumplings. But before I get to the actual recipe, there's like 1,500 words of a blog and a backstory. Like, when grandma was growing up in the holler of Tennessee, it's like, I'm sure that's great, but I don't care. I just want the recipe.
I want
don't
the recipe.
Make me get through all of this just for the recipe.
Yes, that frustrates me so much. And sometimes when you click the jump to recipe link, it doesn't take you straight to the recipe. So what's the point? But not only that, something that I do get annoyed of that you actually kind of reminded me of is I like to read a lot. That's how actually I consume a lot of information, is reading a lot. And when I go to certain like articles or, pages, ad pops up. There's an ad at the bottom of the screen, ad at the top. And I'm like, there's this much that I can see on the screen. And I don't understand why you did this to me. Like, why? So very annoying.
Josh is a bartender and gets the same thing when he Googles drink recipes. Well, here's the problem, Josh. You should already know how to make these drinks.
That's right. Can you make a banana cow, Josh? Do you know what that is? Because I don't, but I remember reading the bartending pour card book, and I saw banana cow, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone order that before.
I'm gonna drive to St. now and order a banana cow and
see how many bartenders know
how long it takes Josh to Google it and get that recipe
get Josh. If it takes too long, then he Googled.
Oh, I will sit there watching him. So I will know he Googled.
or maybe copy and paste is faster than him actually typing out. So maybe if it's quicker, he Googled it. I don't know.
Or he just Googled it now, so he's ready. If he was smart.
He's ready.
Are you smart, Josh? Are you that smart? All right. Before we let you go, I have a question for you.
Okay,
just for funsies, for everybody watching. Give us one NFL pick for this season.
It's going to be a futures pick.
Okay.
Excuse me, I just burped. I really like. Sorry, I have so many. I'm going to go with the Jets under 9.5 wins at plus 110, which means you'll get a higher return for your investment. I just think they're too hyped. I mean, there's too much hype around them. They've got a really difficult schedule. Maybe they'll do better towards the later half of the season, but they're in such a competitive division. And Aaron Rodgers, I mean, great quarterback, honestly, but it's going to take some time to gel with the team and gel with the new coaching. And so I'm just not buying it. Not saying they won't get to 9 wins, but I don't think they'll get over 9 wins. And that's my favorite bet.
Okay, so I understood under 9.5, meaning they'll get fewer than 9.5 wins. Which, how can you bet 9.5 when you don't win or lose half a game?
Okay, so the half is actually kind of like a little wiggle room for sports books. So let's just say the total was set at 9, right? And they get exactly 9 wins. That means everyone gets their money back, like those who bet over or under, depending on the book. So the half kind of helps them, because if I had bet the under 9.5 and they went to 10 wins, I would lose. But if they had gone to 9, I would win, right? But for the books, that half really, really helps them, because it prevents a push, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Long story short.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look at us learning something today. And I had one last question, but Mr. Scampers has one last question for you as well.
Okay.
He wants to know, what types of sports and bets are you most comfortable with, and what do you just do for giggles?
Okay, in order, let's say NFL, UFC, NHL, Formula One, MLB, Those are the ones that I'm most comfortable with in that order. And then for giggles, college basketball and college football. Like I'll never ever talk about college basketball or college football, but I do watch it and it is so much fun to watch. But there are way too many teams, too many conferences to keep up with. So I choose to just bet on those for fun. And I'll do like a 5-leg parlay in college football like every week and see if I hit one. Haven't hit one yet, but just donating money basically. But yeah, those are the two.
Somebody somewhere appreciates it.
Yeah. So I'll have to hit one before I die. So
yeah, I'm sure.
The odds
are in your favor.
Yeah, there we go.
I hope anyway.
I hope so too.
Minty, thank you so much for joining us. This was delightful and fun. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can find your work, and a totally underrated flower that everybody should know about.
Ooh, okay. So you guys can find me on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram at Minty Bets. Instagram, I get a little more personal. It's like daily like mishaps of me. Twitter is where you can find all my work. I'll retweet everything. Any sort of pics that aren't on the Yahoo Sports app, I'll put there. And TikTok, sometimes I'll post funny things. You can also follow Yahoo Sportsbook at Yahoo Sportsbook on Twitter, or as I should say, X. And it's Twitter always. And as for an underrated flower, other than carnations and irises, that's hard, Faith. You put me on the spot.
Sorry, I thought it would be a good one.
I would say delphinium. It's a line flower, so it's kind of like a larkspur, like a much skinnier snapdragon, less hardy, but it's the only natural blue flower other than hydrangeas now that I think about it. But yeah, it is gorgeous, delphinium.
So bluebonnets aren't blue?
Bluebonnets are like more purple. I guess they are blue. Kind of more purpley sometimes too, but a lot of blue flowers that you'll see in like flower shops, they like spray paint it, and I'm like not into that.
It's very Alice in Wonderland painting the roses red vibe.
We're about like natural beauty here, so we don't do anything to mess with the flowers. And of course, peonies are like an overrated flower to me. They're gorgeous.
They smell good too.
They smell so good, and they're so puffy and just beautiful. But yeah, let's give the skinny little flowers some love too. They bring a lot to the table, but they're not massive, but they make things taller.
Go ahead, Josh. There you go.
Woohoo! Delphinium
Mr. Scampers appreciates your delphinium shout out.
Aw, Mr. Scampers, you'll have to talk to me. How do you know so much about flowers?
You guys can have that conversation on Twitter /X /Instagram /TikTok anywhere. /slashers. Minty, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your evening, because I feel like it's still pretty early for you.
But yeah, it is pretty early. But thank you. It was so great to be on your show. Thanks for having me. And I guess I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Minty. All right. So, oh, Lord have mercy. This is what happens when I just do things and Josh also tries to do the same things. And it's like, just let me do the things, because then I don't have to communicate them and it's just easier. But our next guest is here, ladies and gentlemen, Jen Smith. Hi, Jen.
Hi. Hey. Yeah,
Jen,
do her stuff. Jeez. Just let her do the thing. What are you even doing? Messing with stuff. You got to tell them, right?
That's why it's called Women of Fantasy Football. And the boys are just the minions, because they can't even do the simple stuff right.
They got to step to the side. Let us do it.
Step to the side. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really, really excited. I don't think you and I have been like on a pod and like had direct contact. We've been in some leagues together and like talked on Twitter. It is Twitter, by the way.
It is.
I'm not
it
saying
will
X.
forever be
Not
Twitter.
doing it. Not doing it.
Whatever
Nope.
you. I don't care what you
so
tell
this
me.
is
Elon,
exciting.
Yes,
I'm so glad we get to finally talk and get to know each other a little bit. So this is fun. Thank you so much for inviting me on and having me. So I'm just stoked to be on here. Yeah,
certainly, of course. So before I get to the questions on the show sheet that you talked about, Josh mentioned earlier that he is in a Scott Fishbowl division with you. For those of you who don't, they are both in the Central Perk division of Scott Fishbowl. I know that Josh is a huge Friends fan. He just had a birthday and I gave him a photo book, and the cover of the book, it just says the one where Josh turned 40 in like
that was you. He sent me a photo of that. What a great gift. That was so thoughtful. He loved it. Yay. I love it.
tried.
Yeah, Friends is
So,
lifelong.
I need to know, what
Mhm.
is your favorite Friends episode?
Oh, no. Okay.
You know what, Josh? You can be thinking, because I may ask you the same question. Actually, I will ask you the same question, Josh. You can just put it in the chat.
What's the Thanksgiving episode where Ross and Monica end up on the ground outside, both holding
Where they're
the
playing
football?
football?
Yeah, is it the one where they're playing football? There's so many of them. See, I'm looking bad as a Friends fan. I don't know all the names. I promise I know the names.
The one with all the football.
So the one
is that
with
yours, Josh, or are you just helping Jen out here?
Yeah.
Use your words.
Is he mouthing it?
He is mouthing it, but knowing him, he's actually speaking out loud, although he is in his room by himself and nobody can hear him, and I cannot read his lips. I know you listen. I can't. So I think one of my favorite Friends episodes, I don't know the name of it, but it's the one where Phoebe and Rachel go running in Central Park.
I love that. I thought you were going to go for the one where Phoebe was trying to seduce Chandler. The one where they know that you know that we know that you know.
Yeah, they don't know that we know that they know that. Yeah. Or my other favorite one is where Phoebe is talking about her grandmother's chocolate chip cookie recipe. And Monica's trying to read
Nestle Tollhouse.
Nestle Toulouse.
She's like,
Josh's is the one with Phoebe's uterus.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or cool. Another funny one is Ross in the leather pants.
Okay, can I jump on? I know
Absolutely.
I'm feeling now this is I'm a horrible Friends fan, but that scene is the funniest scene. Oh, I'm with you. It's formed some sort of haze. Oh my god, such a good one. Faith, you get it. Thank you very much. That was great.
It's not a favorite episode, but I quote the episode all the time where Ross is having dinner and he invites Monica and Chandler over. I'm fine. Really, I'm fine. I don't know why you think I'm not, but I'm fine. Could I be wearing any more clothes? Right. We are getting sidetracked.
We are. We're knee deep in the Friends stuff. I love it.
So, where did your love of sports originate?
Oh man, way back when I was a kid. Basically, I watched a lot with my grandfather before he passed away. Baseball was the big one, but football too. And it was just my way of kind of connecting with him. I started collecting baseball cards right around that time too. And so I think it was just, I was so little. I think it was just kind of that bonding thing. And we just did it together because my sisters, I'm one of three, they weren't into sports and I was. And so it was kind of the special thing that we got to do together. And then honestly, I was kind of hard to believe, I know, kind of a tomboy when I was younger. And I did struggle to kind of find my place. And I didn't know, talking about women in football, right? Just being a girl and not really knowing. I thought I could, I was beating the boys on the playground and they'd let me play. And then we hit this age where the boys didn't want to play with me anymore. Right? They didn't want to invite me in. And actually, when I was thinking of these questions, we're just going to go down the rabbit hole here. As I was thinking of these questions, right, I actually had this memory of when I was really, I have no idea how old, 8, 9, 10, who knows, when you're allowed to be on the playground by yourself with your friends. I don't know. Near the house, you can see the house, right? This was a long time ago. Don't date me. So it was safer time. It was a safer time. So we were just chilling, and one of the boys had gotten a new scooter. I was riding it around and everybody got a turn and it was finally my turn. And I went to grab it and get on. And he said, only boys can ride. Girls can't ride this. And I without thinking, and it was a really embarrassing moment at the time, but without thinking, I go, well, I'm a tomboy. Doesn't that count? And they laughed at me and it was not a great. So I think at that point, I kind of started to realize that there was going to be a separation and that it wasn't necessarily one that I thought I'm I don't get it, but okay. And so after that, I just played. It was I love being on a team. I love being
Mhm.
part of things and being part of a community. And so I think once I finally got into sports, I started with softball when I was young and then basically played most of them at some point. Soccer in high school, but mostly softball, loved it. And then rugby in college. And it always just gave me this community. And I felt, and I met other women, girls
Mhm.
that became women at the time that thought like me. And, you know, like I wasn't weird. We all loved playing and it just felt like home. And so luckily, I don't pat myself on the back very often, I promise. I'm pretty athletic. And so it was just something that I was successful at and really, really enjoyed, put a lot of work into it and a lot of time and gave it a lot of commitment because it was pretty cool. It actually, sports have played a huge role in my life. And so as I got older, when I can't play anymore, I tried to find the leagues. I was on a kickball league for a while, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But the fantasy community has kind
We
of
know
become
some
that for me.
amazing women who are in a kickball league. Kate and
Yes.
Michelle.
It is so fun. I was when I was living in Chicago, and we did it every Sunday. Mondays were hard, but we did it every.
I bet.
Oh man, we did it every Sunday, and so then we'd play all the games, and then all the teams would go to the local bar, and we'd be playing like beer pong and everything with each other. So again, just like goes from competitive to communities. Rugby's like that too. You play each other, you beat each other to shit. And then you're like, you want to go have a beer? We got a cake. And then we go. And y'all like happy family afterwards, singing songs and spraying beer everywhere.
Funny.
I won't get into it.
That's funny.
So that's kind of, I think over time, it started as a connection. And I think it just grew into a connection with a community where I felt safe and like part of something, I guess. And then just other people like me. And so it's okay to like sports as a girl, essentially.
Yes.
It normalized
And
it for
that's
me, right?
And that was part of a driving force behind starting Women of Fantasy Football, is that we wanted women to know that they have a place here as well, that
Yeah, they do.
it's been a boys club for the longest time, but that needs a little bit of flavor.
Right?
We look at things differently. We have a different approach to things.
Yes.
There's a spot for women in, like Minty was talking about, in sports betting or in fantasy content. It doesn't just need to be a boys club anymore, because as I like to say, it's not about what's between your legs, but what's between your ears. Your knowledge is your knowledge, no matter what.
I agree.
So Joel says hi.
Hey, Joel.
Another one of our...
I love the chat. The chat's always fire. These people are amazing. So hi, everybody in the chat. You guys are great.
We
guys
are
and girls.
calling...
I say guys collectively. Excuse
yes,
me. I just
it's a general term, not as a gender.
I know, but
term.
as soon as I said it and I'm on the show, I'm like, oh my God, I just did that.
It's okay. I say guys
and gals.
It's fine.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
we're okay.
Internally, I don't know if I told Josh this, but I'm calling the Central Park division an unofficial club fantasy / women of fantasy football division, because the only two dudes in Central Park are Josh, who co-founded Women of Fantasy Football with me, and Joel, who is part of the club fantasy team, and then 10 women.
Yeah.
So
we're
just owning it. We're claiming it. So welcome to the family.
Thank you.
And then Mike 25 wants to know Christian McCaffrey or Austin Eckler. Who would you take in a PPR?
CMC. I actually have him in Scott Fishbowl.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a CMC year for me. Hoping he stays healthy. Who are you? Who are you? CMC or you Eckler?
No, I am on team. Oh, just kidding. I was ill-informed. Josh says there are 4 males. 8 women.
Oh, there's 8. Okay.
One in Mexico and one in the UK. The other 2 men. Well, they don't know it yet,
right.
But
it's all coming back to me.
They just joined Team WOFF.
They're with us.
I should hope they support women.
You can't rescind the invitation.
Correct. So, well, also they're in a league with 8 women. If they don't support you, then let me know. I'll tell Scott, and Scott will make sure they don't have a place.
Did you hear all that? Faith's gonna come after you. You be good.
Yep. So I am firmly team never CMC. I do not trust him. After the last couple years, I just can't do it. Also, Austin Eckler's a cool dude.
He is. The show with him and Liz. I mean, he's a pretty cool cat. You can't really go wrong.
No.
I feel like between the two of them.
And if
But
Liz
yeah, I have to
approves,
leave.
then clearly he's a cool dude. So we love Liz around these parts. She was our
Oh,
first
yeah.
ever Women of Fantasy Football guest, actually, in 2021.
Aw,
No,
I
2020.
love Liz. She's
2020.
great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually got to meet her finally at our Scott Fishbowl live draft. I flew out to LA this year. I got to meet her. I got to meet Julia Papworth for the first time. Whole bunch of women. It was super
does that
exciting.
mean you went to the trophy?
I did. I went to Trophy Smack headquarters.
Thank you. Trophy Smack. Yeah, the headquarters.
You
were there? Was it just so amazing? I'm so jealous.
Mm-hmm.
It looks
so much
cool.
fun. They are.
Oh my God.
So I got to hang out there Friday basically all day because my flight got in at like 11. So I hung out there a good portion of the day Friday before the event, helped them kind of get set up a little bit, and then hung out there a little bit Monday before my flight left. And they are such a fun team. They have a lot of fun. The Matt Walsh that you see on Twitter is the Matt Walsh that you meet in person, whether he's at the expo or he's just walking into the office. That is Matt Walsh. He's one of my all-time favorite people to be around because he's always just so high energy and just happy. Even when he realizes on Monday morning that he forgot his son's goldfish that he brought in on Saturday for the Scott Fishbowl tournament. Oh, it's yeah. Scampers is right. Scampers was also in my live draft. That Walsh is
there it is.
Draft, but we love him.
We do.
And my co-host Kelly, actually, who would normally be here with me, she's actually the VP of marketing at Trophy Smack. So I was staying with her when I went to Cali. That's why I got to hang out there. So she's in a fun place, and they are a fun team. A handful of them came out to the expo, and it was fun just seeing them again and hanging out with them. And Trophy Smack HQ is a fun place to be. It's
a life goal, right? To get out there and hang out and do a live draft. It's got to be like next level. I'm over here in OK, Ohio, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I did not mean to represent. I just like the sweatshirt and was in it. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, they think I'm like, there is a Scott Fishbowl under here. Okay. And then this looked like I was trying to flash everybody. Okay. All right. I'm just going to keep my clothes on, but I'm over here but we can, right? We can say we have the expo. So that's nice. That's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an okay state. It's okay.
An okay state, even though it's an OH state.
Mm-hmm. Don't say it. Don't say, oh wait, I'm resisting. I'm not gonna say it. No. Did you say it? Is that you?
Give me 1 second.
She okay?
I'll hop in and hold her place. I think she's going to yell
I'm
at
like,
the
what do I
kids
talk about with just me sitting here? Where's the questions? Like, look at the chat. My face said it all. I'm like horrified. I'm like, what do I do?
Or, usually if she needs me, like she'll just tag me in instead of just being like, I'm just going to leave the guest. Okay. Bye, Jen.
Bye.
Sorry about that.
Don't say sorry. You're
I
fine.
had to yell at some children.
We survived. Look at us. We're here. I was waiting for you. I missed you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I saddled you with Josh for those 2 minutes. I apologize. It's not something I like to do.
Now you owe me.
Shouldn't have needed to, but it happened. It happened.
So you gotta handle it.
What people may not know is we have you on here now as a content consumer. What people may not know is that before you were a content consumer, and then after you were a content consumer, you were a content creator. So how has it been to go from consumer to creator? And what ultimately made you decide, you know what? I don't like this creation part. I'm just going to go back to consuming it.
Well, the consuming part was always the first part. Fell in love with it. My friend invited me in 2012 to my first fantasy football team. Didn't even know. I'm like, what? I watched football my whole life. Loved it. How I didn't know that existed, I don't know. It's hard to even remember a time where this wasn't huge, but so FF now with Matthew Berry and Stefania. Love That's her. Where I started. So that was my consumption. I mean, every Sunday was FF now from 11 until kickoff. And I was setting my lineups the whole time, listening to him in the background, making sure I didn't miss anything. Right. And then I I got on Twitter, which I wasn't before. And I just started interacting with people around football.
Twitter
and
is
fantasy
everybody's
football.
fantasy football.
Right. Tweeting at
away.
them and, answering the FF Now questions, a little bit, just dabbling. And in one of those threads, TFA, the Fantasy Authority, Kevin Steele, was there. And we just we were talking football first. And he invited me on and said, have you ever thought about writing? And I hadn't even thought about playing fantasy football, right? So, and I loved it. I played for a few years that time. I think this was like 2015 now. So I got a little bit under my belt, right? And I'm like, who would be interested in what I have to say? And he's like, lots of people, I think, right? And he's like, just give it a go. So we talked on the phone. He kind of not talked me into it, but I had a lot of reservations. I didn't know a lot of women or see a lot of women writing content and even interacting. I mean, Stefania was like one of the only females that I really I didn't interact with her, but that I knew of, and she was one of the main she was one of the ones that represented that I could even do that and like be a part of this. Like I didn't even know what role women had. Again, I was like back in that where do I fit? Like where do I fit? And Kevin's like, just give it a try. I mean, if you like writing and you like football, throw them together and see what happens. Scary shit, right? But I thought, what could I lose, right? I mean, you could get you could get trolls and you could get people, but I just thought I'd swing and give it a shot. And so I wrote my first article, and it was so fun. It was just so fun to put it out and then have people talking to you about it and not be mean and like value your opinion, which I was very surprised by. I did think that it's a boys club. I did think that people would be like, who the fuck is this girl, right? Are we allowed to curse on here? I didn't even ask you. Sorry.
So good. No. Okay. How about it? We are a safe space.
Yeah. I jumped in and people were great. And that was probably the most important part of me staying a content creator, was just the community once I was in there and how supportive they were over at the Fantasy Authority. And we had this really small team at the time. And it was family. And I think that's why it was like 6 of us putting out as much content as we could and just churning it out and like just relying on one another. And it went on like that for a while. I really loved it. And actually right in the beginning, I wrote a few articles, got a little under my belt. And then I wrote this article about, and I was just talking to Rachel and Tootsie. I was talking to Rachel about this when her article came out, that one of my early articles, I wrote about women in fantasy football and made fun. It was kind of like a tongue in cheek. Oh, you guys think we can't play. We just look at players and think who's hot and we put them on our team and this, that. So I was kind of like making fun of it. And I was so scared to put it out because I was basically calling out everybody. Like, why don't we have room here, right? Maybe some women do pick based on how hot the guys are, and other people pick because they know what the hell's going on. Why does it matter? Don't you do that, men? Right? Like, don't. Right? Yeah. You wear the same socks all week, right? For your team. But that makes sense, right? But somehow women just can't grasp this, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote that and I just held my breath. And that was really, I think, the turning point of, oh my God, I could do this for a while. Oh my gosh, do I want to like do this? Right? Like, do I want to like try to get to where I'm getting paid to do this, then like really be a part of this? Because I got so much support, like just so much. And at that time, big people like Stefania retweeted it. And like there were people that supported me because of the content and said, you belong here. And I'm so glad somebody said it in a way that was kind of funny, but kind of brought some stuff to light and actually started a lot of really good conversations. And after that point, I was like in love with just create, because then it was about football, what it wasn't, right? And then I put it out and it was still welcomed. And so I thought, well, damn, if I can put that out, I can definitely talk about, the underdogs. I'm a very big underdog, undervalued kind of a gal. I wrote all those articles, right? Find the waiver wire guy. Those were kind of my things. Under, like, who's going under the radar? So that was always my stuff. And then, unfortunately, a few years passed, and we were still, I was on their pod. I was writing a lot of articles. I was getting pretty burnout. That was right. I was writing the waiver article at that time. And I was working full time over at, I think it was OSU. I was working full time, so that was really heavy. And then I remember staying up until like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. on Monday night after Monday Night Football, so I could include those guys. Writing this waiver wire article, because I don't know about you, Faith, I'm a perfectionist. That's the other problem. And so, and I also have this pull, and I don't know if you do too, but this pull, like, at least at the time, but no, I'm lying. I still feel it. this idea that I have to back my stuff up, that I have to, when I write something, I better make sure they know why I wrote that. I can't just write something and it's my opinion. At least that's how it felt to me. Like I felt like I had to sell everybody on every point I was making. And so I did. You can imagine how much that was.
Mm-hmm.
But I got the green light because it was a waiver wire article and I could just write whatever I wanted. So it was pretty long, pretty extensive, and I burnt myself out pretty good. But actually what really pulled me out and had me take a step back was more personal stuff. And I don't mind talking about it. But the first, initially, I was going through a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just a mess. I'm just going to be honest with you. Right. And I didn't want to half-ass it. Right. Like all of them over there were supportive. You can just do this. You don't do the whole thing. But I just had to take a step back almost completely because I just couldn't handle it all at once. And I came back about a year later and wrote a little bit more. And then, unfortunately, I have chronic pain now, and that started. And so that, again, it's kind of like when I do something, whether it's a positive or a negative, I throw myself into it 150%, and I get really passionate about it. And I just didn't want to do it half-ass. I just didn't want to like halvesy do stuff. Even though I probably could have still put out things, it just took up so much like rent in my mind that every day I think it's hard to explain because it's like always there, and yet you have to sort of do your day too. And so I just didn't have enough. I felt I didn't have enough to be helpful to people, essentially.
So
I just stopped.
Oh, I feel that. I have two statements to that. Actually, first is a question and then two statements. Do you have a favorite NFL team?
Steelers.
The Steelers. Okay. So you are a Steelers fan. It's your favorite team. I am a Patriots fan. It is my favorite team. I write one article per year for Club Fantasy. It's our Look Inside series. If you ever decide that you want to write one article a year, we will give you the Steelers. I'm making these decisions for Josh. You can come on board and just write one article a year. You have plenty of heads up notice, and it's just for fun. Again, I should say that. I usually only write one article a year. I wrote like 3 this year, and I don't even know who I am because all of them included numbers. That's just not me. Even Josh was surprised when I was like, hey, there's an article in there. He's like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, you heard me.
I did it.
So
you've already beat that for the year. You got
that invitation is open. Oh yeah, I'm good. Unless I just decide to feel fancy and write an artitle randomly, which could still happen, but I doubt it.
It strikes.
I have exceeded my quota for the year. I'm good.
You also contributed. Okay.
I did thrice, and that is enough. You made a statement earlier, which absolutely bothers me. Not the statement that you made, but the fact that it is a thing. You made a statement about how whenever you do something, you feel the need to back it up with X, Y, Z. And you, like,
hardcore.
As women, we feel like because we're in this male-dominated industry, we have to prove our point. We have to give 15 different statistics as to why we think this and why it should be and why it's this instead of this. Whereas 90% of the time, dudes don't. They'll write it and it's like, okay, take Austin Eckler over Christian McCaffrey because 5 words. And nobody ever questions them on it. Nobody ever says, hey, how come you don't have 10 more points to explain this? Or why didn't you compare the sun in retrograde or whatever? Like, why isn't that a thing? So it bothers me that men don't get questioned like women do because we're women, because we never played this sport. Newsflash, a lot of people who are analyzing fantasy football never played the sport. That has what to do about what?
Right.
Nothing. Nothing. So stop making that a thing, people.
Right? We're playing a game inside of a game. Come on now.
Exactly.
Like, just let everybody play. It's okay. Right?
Mr. Scampers wants to know, how do you feel about your Scott Fishbowl team? And what position were you drafting out of? Let's start there.
I was drafting out of 10.
Okay.
And I feel... Okay, here's something about me. Even though I should be used to this. Superflex just completely eludes me. I don't know what I don't know when I'm supposed to pick the first one. I don't know when I'm supposed to pick
In the first
second one.
round.
I always miss the runs.
Generally.
But actually, so what happens is, because I am who I am, I go conservative, right? And I just grab them, right? So if I don't grab them right in the beginning, it's because I'm trying to do something different. And I think this is going to show. I'm like, what? I have CMC. I have Derrick Henry. Those are my two picks. I'm trying to remember my QBs. Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Oh my God. This is how many teams I've drafted, everybody, that I have no idea.
While you're looking that up, I had a brief panic attack because I drafted Trey Lance later on, and I just learned that Trey Lance, what's his face, was named this. Yeah, exactly. Was named
Sam Darnold.
The backup. Sam Darnold was named the backup, and I was like, "Did I take Trey Lance as my second QB? I did.
Did
not.
You go check?
I did. I 100% did. My QB2, ladies and gentlemen, the quarterback from Carolina, Baker Mayfield.
Gotta love it.
My QB1 is, who did I get? Oh, Joe Burrow.
Oh, good. I feel better that you didn't know either. You had to think about it. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Joe's he's gonna come back. He's gonna be great.
This should be great. I made the playoffs last year. I made the semifinals last year. I don't know how I'll do this year.
I'm proud of you. That's great. That's awesome.
After you show us or you share your team, Josh also wants to make sure that you share your team name, because I did hear that everybody in the Central Park division has friends themed team names.
My team name is Pivot. That's my team name, and it's like that.
Pivot.
Oh my God!
Shut up!
Of this. Right? I should have picked that episode. See, they all come back, and I'm like,
same episode.
I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I was thinking about football, and now I just had to say football.
There's just so many good ones. It's really hard.
Too many.
Zach said in the chat earlier, it's a trick question because you just can't pick one.
You can't. I found my team. We have discovered it. Okay,
let's go.
So I have CMC and Derrick Henry were my first two. My QB1 is Dak Prescott. My QB2 is Goff.
Okay.
Not exciting, but here's the kicker. My QB3 is Derek Carr because people let him fall too far. I was really proud of myself. You'd be proud. I was really trying. I did not go like right at the beginning. I didn't grab my quarterbacks. I went 2 running backs, which is like, what? Who is this woman? Okay.
Joel was probably not happy for you. Joel is a staunch supporter of zero RB. But he was probably like, you know what? More wide receivers for me. I'm here for it.
So much sniping. Right? So much. Right. But then later on, people were letting Carr just drop. And so it was one of those situations where I'm like, fuck, I took Goff too early. Okay. I should have waited. Damn it. Because there's Carr still sitting there, which I would have been honestly fine with him as just my QB2.
Yeah. And
so, but I just couldn't pass it up because the value. And so I passed up, I can't even remember who it was at the time, obviously, but I hope that was a good move because they always say go for the value, and it just kept dropping. And I'm like, I'm going to go for it. And I think I'm double checking right now. Yep. I took Kamara as well. He dropped really far. And I grabbed him too. So they were letting, because of in that time, we didn't know how many games he was suspended. And so I took a shot and grabbed him too. So whether those things will pan out or not, or we should have gone another way and got an extra RB or wide receiver. Yeah, we'll see. Right. But I feel okay about the core.
Yeah.
I feel really good that neither one of my top running backs are hurt yet. And we're almost to season. I mean, we can't say that about a lot of them, right?
Yeah,
I mean, training camp is scary as hell, and then it's preseason.
It really is. Like, I understand the point of it, but also, like, people get stinking hurt. Yeah, they get, like, real life hurt. And it's like, people, like, you feel bad sometimes because you're like, well, there goes my starting quarterback in my fantasy team. But then you have to stop and go, okay, my fake football team will be changed. But, like, his actual real life is affected by that. And I think people don't think about that.
Well, you've heard those stories, right? People DM me these athletes and like, you lost me the tournament because you didn't catch that ball. That's not even
You should have knelt at the one instead of
concern is their fantasy team and not the player, right? I think that's when you really know they skewed a bit. They've lost the point. They've gone too far into the fantasy, let's say, and have lost touch with reality, and that we're just playing a little game.
There's just a little game.
Let's take a breath.
Mariah said, it's just a sweet, sweet fantasy.
Sweet, sweet fantasy, right?
A little Mariah Carey there.
That brings up, like, because I was thinking earlier of how it feels different consumer versus content creator. And I was thinking about it, like, how is it different? Like, how do I consume different, or how do I feel different in the community? And part of it is I take it less seriously as a content consumer. Because as a content creator, I feel that pressure, right, to sell my points, to always know my stats, to, if I'm going to say start somebody, to even like put 3 sentences saying why I'm saying that, right? And then I thought about this other part of it too, is my teams. Like when I'm in Scott Fishbowl, or when I'm in drafting with somebody, I felt like how I performed in those, how I drafted, how my team performed, right? It all reflected on my knowledge and my integrity almost as a content creator. Everything I put out was for them. And now as a content consumer, most of my tweets are about me, or about like things that I see and want to retweet. And like, so it's very rarely like pick this guy, or this is my favorite dude. And I don't take it as seriously. It's a lot easier when my team doesn't do well to just be like, it's not Fishbowl. There's millions of us. I know that's not true, but there's tons of us. What are the chances that I'm going to make it if I can just do a little bit, have some fun in the community? That's the point, right? But I noticed that. Yeah. I just take it a lot less seriously.
100%. So a lot of people probably don't know this about you, but you are a mental health professional. And last week, I talked to my friend Lindsay, who is a staff reporter for the Vikings. I love her. She's also big into mental health. And honestly, I think we all should be, for different reasons, for whatever is important to you and why it's important to you. When you were creating content, what was one of the ways that you tried to just center yourself and make your mental health a priority before things just got to be too much? Because I know that there's a lot of people creating content, and a lot of women creating content, who feel the need to prove themselves, and it can just get overwhelming sometimes.
It really can. I think that's a good question. I think a lot of it has to do with the internal and external boundaries that I put around things. Like, it only took me an article or two to realize, don't scroll unless you really are okay with yourself and what you wrote. And usually as a woman, it would upset me, right? It would, I felt like they were saying I wasn't credible, and some people were just mean, right? Like some didn't even read it and would just troll me. And so I think I was very liberal with blocking, with muting people, and I kept my community to just at the time it was a lot of men just that supported me, and a lot of that. And so I just kind of, basically, the company that I kept, I made sure that I was safe within, and that I was treated with respect within the people that I was interacting with, and gave myself permission. If somebody even said something to somebody else, if I just didn't like the vibe, I just decided I didn't want to see it anymore. And so I blocked them a lot. I think outside of it, as you can hear, I stayed up till 4 a.m. So I don't know if I was the greatest with boundaries outside of it, as far as like, don't burn out, Jen. Right. But I honestly feel like that was probably, just thinking about it, that probably was the biggest thing, because it reminded me that even the trolls, right, like, that I had a place, and that they wanted me there, and that there was plenty of other people that did too. And I had to remind myself a lot, actually. But then more women started coming, and it has just blown up. And so the more that happened, the more comfortable I felt, and the more I kind of went outside of that, kind of, interacted in the community, started like asking people, hey, start questions, ask me, right? Like, I found myself opening up a little bit more because I felt less scared that I was going to be rejected, essentially. And so, and now it's a little bit disconnected, but just to say this now with my pain, the biggest thing that's helped me is just focusing on the things I can do. And that's why I said yes to this pod. That's why I'm trying to figure out, thank you for offering. I've had a few sites that are just like, you can write whatever. Do you want to like just dabble again? Do you want to do that? Josh, was like, what do you think? And so I'm excited again about that. And so I think for a long time, because I felt like I couldn't commit and I'd flake because my pain would flare up and I just felt like I couldn't give what I needed to. I think that piece has actually helped me just accept the reality of where I am, which is, not always the greatest. I have some hard days, but then I can do more than I was telling myself. I was just telling myself all the things I couldn't do.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. We miss you.
So glad you're here in one way or another.
So glad. That's right now, I think the biggest thing for me right now with my mental health. I'm trying to focus on what I can do.
I love that. And I love that you said stop scrolling, because that's essentially what Lindsay said last week don't read the comments, because somebody somewhere is going to say something stupid and that's all you're going to focus on. She said, does my manager approve? Does my family approve? And if it's find the people that matter, and then if they approve, then that's all that you focus on, because nobody else matters.
And create the content you want to.
Yep.
Too.
Exactly.
Right? Write the article you want to write. Who cares if you don't have stats to back it up? Who cares?
Correct.
How many hot takes do we see everywhere? And I'm like, where the hell did you get that? If I said that, I would have like 18 million things on my thread telling me I'm an idiot, right? So just create what you want to. There will be an audience for it. There will be support around it. There'll be haters, but there'll always be haters. And sometimes not have anything to do with you, anything to do with what you wrote, nothing. They just want to troll. And I've had people just target me just because I'm a woman. Because on Reddit, I quote my
mom, hurting people hurt others. And some people, and then also misery loves company. Some people just aren't happy in their lives. And so they're going to do whatever they can to make sure you're not happy too. Don't give them your happiness. It's not theirs. They don't have any sort of ownership over it. Don't give it away unless somebody's going to reciprocate that.
And usually people that are trying to put you down, it's usually they don't feel so great about themselves. Correct. And so their only way to feel better in their eyes is to make other people lower than them. And so if you think about it in the way of you're insulting me, but you're really insulting yourself. There's something going on with you. That's a you thing. That's a you problem. Right. But it's hard in the moment to think that, but that's absolutely true. 100% true.
If you look at something on Twitter or an article you write and read a comment, if you, like you said, sometimes it's hard to do this, but if you stop, look at it and read it and go, does this comment, does this opinion, does this have any sort of validity to it? Or is it just, you're stupid, this article is dumb? Pay it no mind, because if you say something factually incorrect and somebody corrects you, own it. Just be like, you know what, you're right. I missed that. I don't know how I missed that. My bad.
Right.
But don't give somebody the benefit of stealing your happiness when they have no claim to it.
Right.
Jen, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was fun.
Before I ask you my follow-up question, let everybody know where they can find you and talk friends with you.
Sure. I'm mostly just on Twitter now. It's at the only Jen Smith. That's my username. Little tongue-in-cheek funny there. I'm never the only Jen Smith. Not ever. I'm basically Jane Doe. That's my name, Jen Smith. How generic. But so it was fun. And actually, I couldn't believe it was available. And I thought it was really funny. And I'm like, okay, I'll leave it. So that's how you find me. Please DM, tweet at me, say hey. You got a question? Absolutely. Ask me. If I don't know it, I'll just tell you. I don't know.
Perfect.
But if I have an opinion, I'll let you know.
Exactly. Or if they're asking you in like a really rude way, just make something up.
No, I won't answer you.
Or just make something up. How many catches did Saquon Barkley have last year? 4.
What? You gonna push back?
You didn't ask how many total. He did catch 4 balls. Like, specificity is key.
That's funny. I love
I
it.
try sometimes. All right.
I love
So, do you want to hang around while we give some stuff away?
Do you care? Can I chill?
Of course
I
not.
would love to. I'll be quiet.
That's why I offered. No, you don't have to be quiet. All right, Josh. Don't push the button. I'm going to do it. Hi, Josh.
Hi. I'm going to do this. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
It works better.
Putting you on the
Boys,
bottom.
but only one
On
of
my
you.
show, I'll be in the top corner, but it's okay. All right. This is all
isn't
about
your
y'all.
show.
Jen, thank you so much for agreeing to come on.
Yeah.
I know you kind of waffled.
No, this
with
is
that
great. I
introduction
can't
a
believe
little
it
bit,
passed
so-
already. Talking to you so
Right?
easy. for
It,
this
you
stuff.
just
Yeah,
start
it really
talking
is.
and then you're like, holy shit, it's been 40 minutes. Awesome.
I'm like, holy
Okay,
shit,
cool.
I talked a lot.
Oh my God.
God.
See what we did there? Oh,
Chandler.
I like us. We're fun. Everybody in the chat's like,
man.
"Geez."
I see a friend's podcast
What?
in our future.
Well, did you tell Faith that there was an ongoing trivia? Like it was
I
our
heard.
group chat
Yeah.
was not
Heard
chat.
about
It
it.
was trivia.
Oh, I
Yeah.
trust
And
you,
I
Jen.
never knew the like
I
I
heard
either
all
didn't
about
beat
it.
people to them or didn't know the answers. Like these
I
people
heard
are
all about it. We can
hardcore.
talk about it later. I heard all about it.
Okay.
That's too funny. All right. So we have a couple jerseys to give away.
Speaking of Saquon,
Right. Yeah,
I know.
exactly. Well, first, we are going to start with Senior CD Lamb.
Okay.
So I first want to give a
hold
shout
on,
out.
hold on. Yes.
I can't contribute to flowers. I
No,
can
but
give
Minty
people
can.
flowers. I'll be the delivery guy, but that's about
Minty
it.
can. Minty can. Boom.
Flowers and
Minty,
friends.
if you're watching this back, or I will DM you later,
Oh,
we
man.
will discuss
Too damn funny.
your love of Friends. And if you love Friends, there will be a Flowers and Friends podcast.
There'll be a follow-up question.
There will be a follow-up question. All right, sorry.
So
go ahead.
first,
Give
want to
me
give a
the-
shout out to everybody that bought raffle tickets this week.
Mhm.
As we mentioned during last week's show,
Mm-hmm.
we set a single biggest week record in donations. We didn't hit that this week, but that's okay. We're always going to have peaks and valleys, and I made a joke with Faith about this earlier. Everybody blew their loads a week early. That's okay. We raised an additional $535 this week. So over the first 3 weeks, we're up to $2,175. And let me tell you, I like to think that we saved the best for last, but I'll let everybody else be the judge of that. But first, we're going to give away this here signed CD Lamb jersey. It's signed on one of these numbers, probably the one that's folded up. So that said, let's spin a wheel. Who's going to win it?
Heyo!
Oh, we got a new name. Hi, Cindy.
Congratulations, Sydney.
Cindy's actually,
Cindy.
she's bought a few tickets over the last few years, so always good to see her. I will say that was oh so close to one of our good friend followers, Carrington. He definitely bought the most tickets for CD Lamb, but apparently, buddy, you didn't buy enough. So congratulations, Cindy. Looking to hopefully get all of these sent out tomorrow because I'm a couple weeks behind because of the expo. But yeah, sorry, everybody. Let's see where's the next one. All right, and for the finale this week, we're giving away this here signed Saquon Barkley jersey.
Listen, I see a lot of the same name in there.
Yeah, look at those Sean McCormicks
so,
there. Look at all those Sean McCormicks.
Yeah,
Let's
let
do
me
it.
tell you. So I want to give Sean a big shout out because Faith and I had a chance to meet Sean at the expo this year.
I met Sean last year and the year before.
I don't believe I saw him last year. You may have, but I didn't.
I did, yes.
But I got to meet Sean this year, and
he actually won cornhole at the expo.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah.
Ooh, respect.
So, but Sean buys tickets literally every single week. He's been a big supporter of everything that we've done with Women in Fantasy from the get-go. And he said today, he's like, I'm always the bridesmaid. Sean, maybe you can walk down the aisle today, buddy. Let's spin it.
No offense to anybody else that bought tickets, but come on, Sean. Come on, buddy.
Hey!
Oh, we
Oh
got
my
a double.
gosh.
Cindy won again.
Oh.
Cindy's day. Today's Cindy's day.
It is Cindy's
so
day today. It is Cindy's day today. Congratulations,
feels so
Cindy.
sad.
Sean,
Yay, Cindy.
so close, buddy. So close.
Like,
Oh,
Apparently,
man.
you're
You
still
could
a bridesmaid.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Who wants
You
to
just
tell
got
them in the
left
group
at the
chat?
altar, honey.
That's a herder. But you know what? Congratulations to Cindy. I've got not one, but 2 jerseys coming your way. And as Wendy points out, saves me some postage. So
That's what I was laughing at. I've got the chat over here, and I just started giggling.
and as Angie points out, Cindy, go buy some lotto tickets.
Yeah, today is your day. Go do it. Seriously.
That is awesome. All right, I will bounce out of here. Faith, you can feel free to close out the show. And actually, wait, before we do that, I want to point out really quick.
Hold on.
This week's raffles, which are currently live on womenoffantasyfootball.com. We'll be posting the graphics and stuff here on Twitter shortly after the show.
Mm-hmm.
But as I mentioned, I like to think that I saved the best for last. So head over to womenoffantasyfootball.com.
Come on already and tell us.
You have the chance to get your hands on a signed Aaron Donald Rams jersey.
Shout out
Ooh.
IDP players out there.
And
Ooh.
a signed Jalen Hurts jersey.
Can I just tell you that I can guarantee you that I speak for Joshua when I say it will physically pain him to put this in an envelope and mail it. As an Eagles fan, he will likely cry.
You're not allowed to put your
I told
name.
people that I got a Jalen Hurts jersey for this year's raffle, and they said, "How bad do you want to keep that yourself?"
You're a masochist.
I said, "I'm sweating just holding it because I want to keep this so bad."
You could have. You
So,
could have never told any of us. But now
You
we're
know
back.
what? I could
I know
have,
you
but
have
I
to,
always
yeah.
here's the thing. Here's the
You
thing,
should.
and this is what I always try to do with these raffles, because I know how finicky people can be, and obviously we want to,
Mm-hmm.
we're doing this for Galvanize and our scholarship fund, and
Yes.
helping women and everything. But I also know that sometimes people just need a little incentive.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of incentive to say, "Hey, bid on this Clyde Edwards-Helaire jersey,"
Mhm.
right? Like you got to get the people that play.
Hey,
you got to get the players
would've
that people like.
Wanted no.
Maybe 3 years ago, right? Maybe 3 years ago. That's okay. It's okay. So I always try to put some effort into who I decide which jerseys I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And the last couple of years, I said, you know what? I got to make sure I have at least one quarterback, especially like
Sure.
a really good one. Like a couple of years ago, we had Lamar Jackson. We've had Josh Allen a couple times. And this year, it was Jalen Hurts. And I said, you know what? MVP runner-up, Super Bowl runner-up. I think there's some love for Jalen Hurts this year. But
This season,
the amount of tickets we
I'm
sell
a Steelers
will tell
fan,
me.
so I'm just. But yeah, Philly's gonna, I think, do well. I think they're gonna do okay.
I hope so, but I also know there are a lot of Rams fans, and Aaron Donald being one of the GOAT
He's just-
defensive
There's
players.
a lot of Rams fans. There's a lot of IDP fans. There's a lot of
So
people who live in
I think we'll
California.
get some of those
like,
IDP
yeah.
players out of the woodwork for this one. So
I met
with
a
that
lot
being
of
said-
people that are Rams fans. Shout out SFB LA. This is your week. Hello,
There
let's
you go.
go.
yeah, that SFB LA live draft chat that maybe you're a part of, Faith, just drop that in there and just be
Drop
like,
that in there.
Matt Walsh.
go, baby, go.
You live in California. Before Josh dips out, I want to make people aware of something. Every jersey that you bid on every year, he's gonna hate me for this. Every jersey that you bid on every year, Josh buys. Josh pays for out of pocket, and every single cent that you guys donate for tickets goes to Galvanize. He doesn't reimburse himself. He doesn't pay himself back. Every penny that you give goes to the scholarship. And I didn't say that to toot Josh's horn. I didn't say that to make you put him on a pedestal.
She just wants to see all the red on my face. That's what
I just need you guys to know I give him a ton of crap. Josh is like a brother to me. But that's just the person who Josh is. Women of Fantasy Football, first of all, wouldn't be what it is without him. And it wouldn't be half of what it is now without his constant support and continual support. And Josh is one of the loudest voices cheering and championing women in fantasy football. And I just want to say thank you for who you are and for all that you do for us.
Okay, I'm leaving now before I start.
He's going to go cry, okay? Just leave him.
Right?
Let him go. Go have your moment. It's okay. Emotions are okay.
Yes, he is, Wendy.
Yes, agreed with Wendy.
Oh, man. All right. Take it away, guys.
Okay. You kicking me out too, Faith?
No, of course not. Well, I will kind of, sort of.
Eventually.
For week 3 of the WOFF Podcast Season 4, I am Faith. You can find me at ff_leap-of-faith. That is Jen at the only Jen Smith on Twitter because, like she said, she is the one and only. She is unique. Make sure that you are following Women of Fantasy Football at women_FF on Twitter, on Instagram, and now on YouTube. We are no longer writing the coattails of Club Fantasy. We are our own entity. Yes, it is about time. So make sure that you are following on all 3 of those. You will find all of our newest content. You will find Kelly's podcast, Who's Your Caddy, Golf DFS. You will find her story when it comes back from its summer vacation. And you will just find news about any upcoming shows, any raffles, any sort of anything. So come find us, say hi. Don't say hi if you're feeling shy. You do you, boo. We don't discriminate. But thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week when we close out season 4 of the WOFF Podcast with some fantastic women. Josh, you know what to do. See you next week.
Bye.